going to read from the Financial Times here. Microsoft has given up its seat as an observer on the board of OpenAI, while Apple will not take up a similar position amid growing scrutiny by global regulators of big tech's investments in AI startups. Microsoft, which has invested $13 billion in the maker of the generative AI chatbot ChatGPT, said in a letter to OpenAI that its withdrawal from its board role would be effective immediately. Apple had also been expected to take an observer role on OpenAI's board as part of a deal to integrate ChatGPT into the iPhone maker's devices. And that Apple news broke while we were on the break. But you wrote this week that this development is a bigger concern for Microsoft than it is for Apple. So can you explain the dynamics there?
Well, I mean, I think the Apple one, just in passing, that was one where it happened too quickly because to me, it was very obviously a bad idea by Apple. Like the whole point of their position is that they don't need anyone. Like people are going to come to them begging to be on their platform on Apple's terms, just like they do at the App Store, just like they do with search relative to Google. And so
we did a 10-day celebration of how smart it was to integrate ChatGPT, but also keep OpenAI at arm's length.
I know. I've no idea.
Quarter their principles.
It really, like, maybe this is a bit where they're more lucky than good. I don't understand how they even got to the stage where there was a named person, Phil Schiller, a very, like, who people associate with and know as being an Apple executive, arguably to a greater extent than anyone but Tim Cook, was named to be on the OpenAI board. Like, what are they doing? It doesn't make any sense. You want to keep them at arm's length, and you don't and there's practical things like if they have another blow up, you don't want to be sort of associated with that. But are you trying to convince Elon Musk that actually we are deeply integrated with OpenAI? It was nuts. I was so confused. I was like, oh, I'll save that one for Wednesday to write about it. Then they back out before that. I was very annoyed.
Just in time.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know what they were doing. Like, there's maybe Jansen can email and give us some 40-dimensional chess why they screwed this up. But hey, to their credit, they fixed the problem. Made no sense to be a part of it. They don't want to get too deeply enmeshed. The whole future in the long run is you can add any model you want and sort of plug it into it in Apple Intelligence.
Well, and the diversity among the supply for an aggregator is a huge value. And one of the things you wrote about was if Apple is cozying up to OpenAI, it signals to Anthropic and Google like maybe this isn't actually going to be an advantageous platform for us. And so it's stupid on every single front for Apple. So
like integration is super beneficial, right? And this is a Microsoft bit. Microsoft benefits from deep integration with OpenAI. They took before the blow up, they were talking in their earnings. Oh yeah, we're building new chips that's meant for OpenAI's models, and our data centers are structured on this. They were like Satya Nadella was on a call saying we have a fundamental cost advantage in AI because we're tuned around one model. Like that was their rhetoric before the OpenAI blow up happened. So all they're talking now, we've always talked about we're just going to serve everyone. That's all BS. They have changed their direction. You just go back and read what Satya Nadella was saying before then. They were all in on deep integration. And deep integration, it can get you better products more quickly. You want to get a sort of Office experience or the Microsoft sort of graph leverage through it. If you have control or access down to the deep model level, you can do a better job, particularly sort of early on. And in that context, that's why they got so screwed and were in such risk with the OpenAI board blow up, and why they justifiably wanted a board observer position, if not a board position, because they have deep sort of interest and reliance there. They're not controlling OpenAI by they do to an extent because they have access to GPUs and OpenAI doesn't. But it's not like an aggregator where you don't even need to touch your suppliers because you hold the demand. And so they do what you want. You can just make rules and they're going to follow them because they need access to your customers. Meta might be really mad about ATT. Are they leaving the App Store? Not in a million years. All these developers might complain about Apple. Do they leave? Not in a million years. What made Epic remarkable is the fact they actually did get banned from the App Store. But there's a reason no one else is following them sort of down that road. So same thing with the EU, right? Like no one's leaving the EU, at least not yet. And so like Microsoft's not in that position. They're reaping the benefits of integration, but that means there's costs as well. And so there's sort of, but this is where the regulatory angle I think does come back. There's a lot of looking into, do they actually controlling OpenAI? Is this an acquisition by another name? And And so they're trying to like, no, we're hands off, nothing to do with it, not involved. Like, and like, and there's a bit, it does feel like Sam Altman has really consolidated control of OpenAI. OpenAI is getting much more consumery. They're much more focused on sort of like getting viable businesses. They're doing this deal with Apple, none of which are about like the original researchers. We're solely focused on AGI, and we're going to have safety, like the whole safety team left, like all this, like, again, like what they're signaling is, okay, this is good, cool technology. We're not necessarily changing the world tomorrow. Let's build a company and make some business. That's what they're signaling, and that is a more comforting position for Microsoft. That's sort of what they.
I was going to say, you could argue that Microsoft leveraged its control when it really mattered, which was last November when the future of the company was at stake.
And so now maybe there's a bit here like, well, yeah, we don't need control anymore. It's in order. We need to avoid all these potential regulatory issues, not just around that, but also, our acqui-hire of the inflection team and all these sorts of things. So yeah, but it's still more fraught than Apple. Apple was being dumb, and they rectified a dumb mistake.